Out of the European Convention on Human Rights, I mean, much going on the Rwanda immigration scheme. I don't know how much of that falls into your red box, or if it's all just the domain of the Home Secretary. She was very robust yesterday in her statement about this is not the end of the policy for exporting people to Rwanda. How precarious is that relationship now, do you think, Justice Minister, with the European Convention on Human Rights?
Well, look, what I would say is it is the government and the Home Secretary who is trying to avoid the human right and prevent and curb the human rights abuses that we see in this trade in human misery through small boats across the Channel. And what we're doing is trying to stop those abuses. That's the way to promote greater human rights in this area. Of course, we had the High Court, the Court of Appeal say that the UK and the government could proceed to remove these individuals, or at least some of them, pending the bigger hearing that will happen in a few weeks' time. I think it's very disappointing the Strasbourg Court, on what looks like a very flimsy basis, has sought to intervene. But I suppose it strengthens the case for a Bill of Rights, which I'm going to publish shortly, to replace the Human Rights Act and give us greater control over the interpretation of human rights, and in particular avoid Strasbourg applying what are tantamount to injunctions. And of course there's no power, there's no basis in the Convention for them to do so.
Not a fan of these last-minute injunctions. I mean, is it true, your front page of the Daily Mail today, Raab's threat to ignore Euro Court rulings. Are you reviewing this? Are you examining whether it would be possible to disregard what bodies like this say?
I've already looked at it, and our Bill of Rights will contain provision which will allow us to make sure that injunctions are decided by the UK courts on a UK basis, and they can't be superimposed by Strasbourg. And just to be clear, we plan to stay a party to the Convention. That's always been our approach to the Bill of Rights. But it is important the Strasbourg Court adhere to their mandate under the Convention as well. And that's why I think trying to upgrade these Rule 39 orders, or interim orders as they're known, to a full-blown injunction is quite wrong. Both in this case, I would say, and I would argue, not least because the UK courts and the superior courts of the UK held that the injunctions were not appropriate, but also as a matter of the mandate of the Strasbourg Court under the Convention.
Mr. Raab, we paid 120 million to Rwanda for this scheme, reportedly paid £500,000 for that plane on Tuesday that was cancelled by the ECHR whilst it was still on the runway. People were actually had to be taken off that flight. It will lead many people this morning to be asking the question, Mr. Raab, who runs this country? Is it the European lawyers, or is it our elected government?
You're absolutely right. It's an elected government, lawmakers, and I should say, respecting the decisions of our superior courts in this country. That's exactly what our reform of the Bill of Rights, replacing the Human Rights Act, which is licensed, promoted, encouraged a lot of this nonsense, will help achieve.